Welcome back to the Writer's Block. It is me, Todd, and Andy's with us. And of course, as has been the norm lately, it's After Dark. Although we're not going to do ASMR this time and whisper into the microphone. Instead, we're going to do something else. We're going to try something a little bit different today, actually. We're going to try to promote our work. So, what this will entail is we could go either way or start wherever we want. We could go over our current works, which many of you probably know about already. Then we're going to go to our websites and kind of, give you a little tour of the website just in case you haven't been there yet. And after watching this, if you want, you can check out these websites. Links will be in the description this time. I actually mean that this time too. All right, so what do you want to start with? You want to start with talking about your work, or do you want to go straight to the website?
Oh, we can start about talking about our work first, because then I think that would be a good transition into showing our website. Because we were actually talking earlier today about
Yes,
a new story for me, short story for me about the serial killer, and I had kind of already done that sort of idea, maybe, or kind of that concept with one of my stories. And I stopped doing it. I published it, I think, last July, but I stopped doing it because it didn't get a very big viewing period. So I just nipped it in the butt. But I could go back to that sort of project. I haven't thought about it yet. I have to reread it, actually, because I don't think it's.
Or just redo it, make a new version of it.
Yeah, I have to. Either way, I'm going to have to reread it because I don't really remember. I recall only bits and pieces. I don't even know what it's called, which is not very good. not very hot start for promoting your self work, but we're working on it. That is one of our, hopefully our goals for 2022 is to work on self promotion a little bit better, a little bit more.
Yeah. A little bit, just a little bit. Small incremental changes, nothing drastic.
No, just starting, just doing it.
There's a quote that says something like, "Begin, the rest is easy." So, well, maybe it's that simple.
Is that Gary Paulson?
Maybe. No.
Okay.
Although, what a great time to bring up Hatchet. Guess what I have right next to me? Oh, it's an actual hatchet. I bet you didn't see that coming.
Why the hell did you?
The book Hatchet, though.
Why do you have an actual hatchet? Did that come with the book?
Specifically for this episode, if that's what you're asking.
Did it come with the book?
Yeah, it's part of a deal, like a package, 30th anniversary. Part of the idea was, maybe while reading this book on a plane, you crash up in the, Arctic and you'd have an axe to help you survive. This is a dull axe, so I wouldn't, bet my life on it, but
we'll get it sharpened. It shouldn't take.
I'll put it on my to-do list. Yeah. So what else have we got in the works?
So I know I said I wanted to have my novel manuscript done by March. That ain't happening. I'm gonna break some news. That's not happening, because the more you and I discuss our own projects off camera, the more I realize I actually need to world build a lot more and character develop a lot more. Even before I started outlining, and I still realized, like, as I take a step back from outlining, I'm like, oh, I have this character can do this, this, and this, or have this, this, and this.
Yeah, that actually, quick little side note. That's where these cards are like so helpful, because as you realize that you can expand your outline, just throw in another card, to expand the story itself.
So now I'm in the process of world building a little bit more, a little bit better. So I have 5. So I actually pulled up the other day the 2010 census of the Adirondack Park of each town, and I picked. This took me a little while, but I went through and picked out the populations that were close to what I made my town, which is probably going to have a rebrand. I don't think we're going to call it Millstone. I think we're going to rebrand it. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm a little bit seasick, so I have the sniffles, and I sound cigarettes. That's what it is. Too many cigarettes. I think I had a pack and a half today. Anyway, so I went through and then actually Google mapped each town that I thought would work, and then see where the body of water played the role in like within like the actual town, because I have still kind of have a picture of where the lake is going to be. And if it was only one big long body of water, or one big lake, I didn't want it like that. So I would take those and like trash it. I wouldn't put those into consideration. I narrowed it down. Long story short, I narrowed it down to 5. So now I'm in the process of weeding those out into probably 3 or 2, or probably 3.
Take what you like most about each town, put them together, make your own town.
I did that too.
Chimera Town.
Yeah, but so that was because I think, I don't know, one day you and I were talking about it, and I realized that, yeah, even though it's a fictional town, but it's based off of, or it can be based off of a real town, obviously, but it still needs its background and be built around, and try to understand where like these businesses and murder scenes and people of interest, like houses and stuff, character houses too, and then surrounding towns need to be, so you can kind of keep everything the same and not, say, oh, the chief of police lives on, the east side of town on one page, and then 20 pages later, like, yeah, he's driving south back to his house, to like, and then that dynamic is all messed up. So to try to have a firm understanding of what's going on. So that's like the big project. And then I want to either do a series or another short story on like this perspective of a serial killer, or in the back of my head, I've been thinking a miniseries of like a retired cop going over case files that he did, that he, may or may not have solved, and just having each title be like the case number of the folder, and just go through like that. So that's kind of what's mainly on the docket. I haven't had the writer's bug, only because I haven't been reading, and it's my own fault, because I've been sitting on my phone way too much this last 2-week time frame now. Been 2 weeks, yeah, last 2 weeks it's been bad.
Yeah, I feel that.
That's the unfortunate part, that you can't get the writers, like you can't force the writer's bug to like, appear. It just happens, and then when it happens, kind of like what you're going through now, you have to use it as much as you can, because one day it's gonna be gone for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, usually for me, when it's gone, it's gone for months. It's hard to it's I think either you described it like this, or somebody else described it as a kind of high.
Yeah,
and it really is. It's a rush, and it was something that I experienced last night. Well, a week ago upon this airing, and I haven't had that in quite some time. And like I debated not even sleeping that night. I mean, it's one of those things. Like that's when for me anyways, that's when I feel like you get your highest quality work. And my fingers, I swear to God, I probably had carpal tunnel by the time I was done typing. It was, painful, but it was productive, like very productive. And it's that level of progress is inspiring in of itself, to make me want to go, to keep going back to it, to try to keep getting, to try to keep getting that high, and to keep getting back into that trance, but of course it's hard to do that when you have work, when you have school. These things just kind of cut it down. And man, it'd be nice to not have work or school. I mean, the one thing I actually am looking forward to right now is in about 3 months, I will be out of school. Like 3 months to the day. Well, actually, a little less than 3 months after this airs. And at that point, I'm hoping the floodgates open and that I can just spend so much time writing because I have so many projects that I'm working on right now that I want to work on at least. I've got 3 major projects I'm working on right now, but I guess I'm gonna just go ahead and go into that.
Yeah, you can go into that.
So I've already talked about 2 of them. One of them is the Fairly Human sequel, A World of Dread and Fear. It's a sequel to my first novel. I think I've gone over that pretty extensively here, and that will be out this year, preferably during the summer. I'm hoping to have a no later than summer release on that. And then the second project is this dystopian novel that is kind of climate based. I keep calling it a climate dystopia, but I'm still developing like the core of what it is or what it's going to be. So that one's kind of subject to change. That one's probably going to be a release next year at the earliest. That one's going to be my big release of the immediate future at least. And my third project is a compilation of short stories, which range from like super short, like 1 page, to 20 plus pages or more, whatever. That one has some old stories going back like 12 years that should be interesting, with a few updates. And then one of the stories that's going to be in that is a version of a story or a novel I was going to release. I think I wanted to release it actually like originally it was October 2020. Actually, that didn't happen. It's called The Sound of Silence. It's a story about this very not well woman she thinks that she's talking to God and that God's commanding her to do things, and it's kind of in a similar vein as Carrie, except
Yeah, I was gonna say you definitely have touched on that.
yeah, and of course, Carrie had a whole different paranormal experience. This is more of a psychological experience as opposed to anything supernatural or powers. I don't want to spoil Carrie too much. It's a really good book. I highly recommend it. It got some stuff in it, but anyways, this Sound of Silence book. It's this woman. She's been abused by not like beaten, stuff like that. She's had a rough childhood and she's got a lot going on. And so I think part of the search for like what she calls like a landline to God, it takes place in the 80s, so it's interesting. But part of her search for that landline is a scoping method, like a way of like disconnecting from the world that she's in. And it's the whole story that I wanted to do as a full-length novel, but reading Carrie kind of just crushed those dreams because it was so similar, at least from my perspective. So what I'm going to do instead is release a shorter version of it, a more condensed version, and it'll be released in this collection, and I'll also release it separately, probably in October. It'll be a good kind of Halloween release, I feel like. And it's definitely going to have a lot of religious undertones to it. I did a lot of research into this particular religion like a couple of years ago. I think it was a Pentecostal religion. I don't know if they still do it, but they used to. I'm sure I mentioned this before, but they used to speak in tongues in the church setting during services. And it was very surreal. It's supposed to be the language of God or something like that. It's pretty wild. And it was something that I think I want to say my mom's parents used to follow this religion, and she said she remembered seeing her parents do this. They're just making these noises come out of their mouth. I took all these imagined experiences of entire church full of people just kind of making noises, but it's supposed to be the word of God, and I'm just kind of like applying that to this book as well, or to this story, because it's just such a crazy, or not crazy, maybe outlandish situation. I'm not very religious myself, so like uh, learning about this is just it's just fascinating. So I kind of have a very niche version of this Pentecostal religion in this book, and I think it's going to turn out good. This is what I was writing yesterday. I wrote like 2,000 words, which isn't a lot, but compared to my progress over the last few months, it's pretty substantial. So I am excited to finish that soon. That's the bulk of what I'm working on.
Well, as you were talking, I forgot to mention that I was thinking about adding, moving back to this time series, which I don't know if I've been using that as a heavy lifter as of late to like fall back on, but
Well,
I would
they
like
do say, well, they say write what you know. So if you write well what you know, then
yeah. So I
that's what I
was
do.
thinking of, it'd be really cool to have that in a like published form, kind of like your novella or something. But
Yeah,
I think it's
I
God,
would
30 pages.
yeah, I would caution that because it's
Well, no. So
uh,
the idea here is to add like,
a lot to it.
yeah,
Because like my novella is it was cool at first, but it's tiny. Like I mean, I'm assuming less
was
than 100 pages. This is the one that I
I
really
was gonna say
screwed
there's no
up.
page,
Yeah,
there's no page stuff or something.
professionalism right there. That's why haven't I made it big yet? Oh, there's no pages. Oh, it's formatted
But
completely
it's
badly.
it's super easy to publish,
Yeah,
get
well, it's
published.
super easy to publish garbage, but that was louder than I thought it would be. Yeah, I
So
you
it
could try to craft like a larger narrative out of all of it,
it's
and
that or just you know, well, obviously submit it to like a magazine or idea time.
I
Yes,
my brain is doing that thing. So you could, and this is an idea. You could go all the way back and cover like the bulk of the relationship between these two,
that's what I was thinking.
and because like like there's nothing more emotionally like um stigmatizing, I guess, or I don't know what the right word is, but like reading it, like there's nothing worse than like seeing these people fall in love and like get to this great place, and then to watch it start to kind of like um start to pull apart and start to fracture. It makes the ones that have released, like if you release like several stories showing how everything happened, and the previous ones that came out before that might hit even harder, because it's like, damn, like everything was, like this is what they had, and now I'm drinking alone in this empty house. It shows like this high and then this terrible low.
Well, see, like that, the one issue with creating all those is that it takes away the mystery of like the first. Well, it takes away the mystery of the first one, but it doesn't. I guess it doesn't really matter at this point because the whole thing is published.
Yeah,
You
it
know what I
depends. Like,
mean?
yeah, it depends on like what are you more focused on too? Is like maintaining the mystery of the one individual story, or the overall whole of the story.
Right, because it's as that one store when it first came out, everybody was like, "Oh, this is really cool." One, because it was in second person and not really people read that, and then two,
Yeah,
you didn't. There was a cliffhanger, like you didn't really know what was going on.
true. In many ways.
Eh,
At
and
first,
then
yeah. Well, continue.
what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say at first I thought that like a bunch of
Someone,
people died or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Whoops. But
Oof.
it, eh, so in that perspective, you kind of I like kind of keeping them. If you go through honestly, if you go through all my short stories, I want to say eight out of the, I want to say probably like 85% of them have some sort of cliffhanger at the end, even if it's minor, even if I don't intend to do it. It's just kind of, I feel like that's kind of how I write.
I mean,
And
that's the best way to do it.
yeah, and then even if the ones that aren't obviously going to be sequels, they still have like a little edge of mystery or like the unknown, like the idea of the unknown that's going to happen. I think in the porch, that was what was that was my third one that I published. That was a long time. It was over a year ago. Um,
I know the feeling.
and that was, I mean, obviously you knew the main character. Did you read that one? Do you know which one this is?
Porch.
Yeah,
I read it, but I read it a long time ago,
long time ago.
and
Yeah.
I don't need to even tell you how my memory is. So
So
I
like
I remember that
obviously the
there
main
was a couple,
characters,
and
yeah, the main character is dying, and then at the end they're doing like this tradition thing. They're dancing, and I never, I never crossed the idea of having a sequel. But I think at the end there's still kind of like an edge of, like I think there's a cliffhanger in there, or it's just sad. I also was told I have a lot of sad endings. I'm like, well, because life is not all
yeah,
sunshine and
yeah.
rainbows.
Just look at my short stories. There's
With
plenty of sadness there.
with a leprechaun at the end holding the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
I mean, to be honest, my first thought of so I mean, I guess spoiler alert. I know the one of the people dies, right? And that, or the both of them,
What?
and in your porch
No
story.
one dies, but the guy is dying. He has terminal
I,
stomach cancer
I
or
thought like
something,
I thought it
or
ended with like
brain.
just one person out on the porch.
No, they're dancing.
Yeah, but I thought no, never mind. I was gonna say what I one idea. I mean, I kind of draw a lot of ideas from not personal experience, but like I guess semi-personal experiences. Like
Same.
my great aunt, she so her husband passed away back in like '08, and it destroyed her. And it she was never the same. They had been married since the '50s, like 1953 or '54. I mean, they had been together for forever, and they were like, I remember my mom said that they were that couple that were like absolutely truly in love from beginning to the end. Like it was pure love, and then once he was gone, it was just and then so that is that's something that I've kind of put into one of my stories before. But another thing you can add to it is that, which kind of makes the story even worse, is that she ended up actually getting dementia not too long after her husband died. It's probably like 5 or 6 years later. I mean, the whole story in of itself is just sad after uh, my great uncle died. But these kind of experiences make really compelling stories because someone can always relate to that, to
Yeah.
this couple in love, and then all of a sudden one of them is gone, and all of a sudden the one that's left behind is struggling mentally in one way or another, you know. And so that's something you could do or work with your porch story is, the one person has terminal cancer, you said, and then
Yeah.
so the next story could be post death, and it could be I
Well,
mean,
I'm also
obviously this is all
trying.
going to be more sad
Yeah.
and stuff, but it kind of you could you can further develop that emotional attachment that they had, and maybe like really put the spotlight on the love that they once shared and the terrible emptiness that is left
Well, see,
behind.
yeah, that was just an example. Like, I don't want to really start doing sequels of like all of like my previous works.
I'm just saying, any of my ideas, feel free to use them.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Because then I don't feel like I've produced
Well, I mean,
new and fresh
it is fresh
content.
though, because
It's fresh,
it brings
yes.
something new to the story. I mean,
Right.
you're not just, maybe it's not 100% original, but it's still like 80% original. You're just taking the same characters and then just developing them further.
Yeah.
And if you
So
create a super compelling story with it, then it's a win-win. I will say also, just for me personally, I don't make stories based off of views or clicks. I've only once looked to see how many clicks my website gets, and it was dreadfully awful. So I just make stuff that I think I like, that I like. I'll write whatever I want to write. I don't care if people like it or not. Which hopefully they do like it. Let me know in the comments if you don't. But just I would honestly, I'm about ready to write a sequel to your porch story. I got that. I got this whole like story building.
I
In my
mean,
head.
that could work, maybe. I mean, I was honestly thinking about, I was at a cafe, not last Sunday, but the Sunday before down the street. And I was doing schoolwork, and there was this couple, and this either a sister or like some relative or just maybe a friend, I don't know. And she was an older lady, and she already had problems, or she was developing dementia or something, because she also had she had onset Parkinson's. But they had to walk her in there to make sure she didn't like run around or whatever, sit her down, and then say it's okay to drink the coffee because it's not too hot. And then I was trying to pay attention, but I was also like kind of panning over next to me because I could
Yeah.
hear him through my headphones too. And I'm like, and then my creative brain was flowing to, like, oh, I can make this into a story, something like that too. So that could be something different too.
I gotta say, I've noticed this multiple times throughout my life, but I tend to be kind of quiet. Anyone that knows me is probably like, yeah, no shit.
Same. I mean, pretty much same.
But I think one of the reasons, and maybe not the main reason, maybe just one circumstantial thing, is I listen. Like I always listen. Like sometimes I can hear multiple conversations going on. It's just a mess of conversations, and all that information, all those moments get sort of poured into my my mind. I guess maybe that's the shit that I remember. I don't remember things in my life. I remember other people's conversations, and I put that. I take all that, I churn it all together, and I make dialogue of my stories with them, because I'm hearing these interactions between people, and I'm hearing these conversations, and I'm thinking, okay, this is how these kind of people interact. These are how those kind of people interact. Um, I kind of end up with this sort of uh, massive inventory of dialogue of random people that I just hear. I don't necessarily like try to listen to them. It's just I hear them, and it kind of becomes the foundation of the dialogue for my stories. Not to say that people that in my stories are based off of them, just to say that like the way that people talk in my stories is based off of the way I hear people talking to each other in the world. Uh, Not that that's any kind of like mind blowing thing. It's just yeah. That's all I got.
So there, I have a couple ideas in the bank, but it's also back to the balancing factor. Obviously, school's going to come first because one, I'm paying for it,
Yeah.
and two, it's furthering along a career path for me
Yeah.
to open up new ideas.
Yeah. And of course, like one of the long term goals is like if you can make money in a separate career to eventually like have a better platform from which to push your novels into the spotlight, then all the more better.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
with a better job, with increased pay, you can actually just hire somebody to market your stuff,
Yeah.
which,
Yeah.
I'd love to do that.
And so then you go into the writing aspect, and it's the balance of world building, character building for my story. Well, speaking of which, I was thinking about maybe doing another short story or two with my novel characters, and kind of like flesh to not only introduce them to my broad, ever growing audience that I have, but also like help me further develop, because further develop them as well. So now you and I talked about a character that I had recently come up with a backstory for them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it away right now, but and then you brought up a good point, like with the backstory, you should have it already inserted into the story. So by the time things like you get closer to the climax of the story, it makes more sense to what like the overall ending like happens. It makes more sense than to have it slowly develop
You have
And
to set up the
then
stages of
exactly. And then when the
development.
climax hits, and then it, transitions, and you're like, well, it doesn't really make sense for
Yeah.
this person to do this for this other character because they haven't really known each other.
Yeah. Like, why would this person suddenly just, rob a bank?
Yeah.
They had a decent job. They don't need the money, or they don't. They had like a really good job. They didn't, like everything's got to make sense. So definitely it's important to do those.
So I got a couple. I have a couple in the bank. It's just of whether or not I want to open the vault, and
Yeah.
well, it's whether when I open the vault, when I have the passion to open the vault again, they're the high. It's what I'm going to choose.
Yeah.
So
I have a funny story about development not working out properly, and where like the climax happens, and maybe not the climax, but an important story aspect happens, and it's not correct. Like I had this, it's a short story that's never been released that I wrote probably like at this point probably 8 years ago, and there's a character in it from Serbia, and this story took place in the early '80s. This character, one of his backstory, I guess, was that he grew up in Serbia, and he kind of fought in the Yugoslav wars. I mean, and Yugoslavia was a Eastern European country. It had a bunch of little countries in it, Croatia, Herzegovina, Bosnia, and then in like 19, and shortly after the breakup of the Soviet Union, Yugoslavia fell into this horrible civil conflict. There was genocide. It was really bad. But I don't know if you noticed, that war happened in the 90s, and the story took place in the 80s, but his backstory was his experiences in this, trying to fight for his village and keep it safe from the other side. And so, like, I remember I had written so much of that story, and I almost had to scrap the whole thing because it was like, it wasn't like that big of a deal, but like there were sprinkles of that kind of backstory or information throughout the whole story. So it was just like crap. I had to start over completely. But it's important to do your homework. It's
homework
funny.
research.
Yeah, I should have known this. I want to say just a year prior, I was in a European history class that covered all that stuff. And somehow I just completely forgot. Like, oh yeah, there's a 10-year difference. Yugoslavia is still together.
Well, that's why I will never. I mean, if I ever decide to dabble in historical fiction, I will not write a single sentence until I know every single fact of the time period.
I mean, the one good thing is, in our time, there's so much information available.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a crap ton of historical books here, so I can always look there. I can always look on the internet, and then sometimes, especially sometimes, you can just do alternate history. I mean, what if Yugoslavia broke up in the early '80s? It's entirely possible. One of the reasons that Yugoslavia stayed together for so long it's because of their leader Tito. I don't remember his first name. I think that was his last name. I don't know for sure, but you could easily write a short story where after his death, a new guy comes in that's more nationalist, only for one of those little tiny countries in Yugoslavia, which is actually kind of what happened. It just took 10 years or so for it to really have its consequences. But I mean, you just need a foundational surface level knowledge of the geopolitics, and then you can craft a great story. But is it worth it sometimes?
Exactly.
What's the point of writing an alternate history for Yugoslavia in the early '80s? Talk about writing for a niche group of people, but anyways, I guess, do you want to
we can transition into the websites.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we're gonna look at our websites. And hopefully this works properly. I'm going to share my screen, and we're gonna look at Andy's website. So let me know if you see.
Well, I can see it.
Really? That's crazy.
Yes.
Technology, isn't it great?
It's something else.
Who's this guy right here?
That is my senior year of college photo right
Really?
there.
Who's that guy right there?
That is me and the Adirondacks right there.
I tell you what, the
That's
safety first. You got to wear
safety
that.
first. That was taken actually in 2018.
Really?
My buddy, that was when me and two of my friends were actually at one of the camps because it was so close to school, like an hour and a half away. And we decided to go for a weekend before our end of year festivity. Like classes were all over, and
Yeah.
we decided to put the boat in the water, and so I could take them around the lake. And that's when the lake first thawed, like maybe 2 weeks later or 2 weeks prior. So it was really cold, and the water level just started to rise. So I was like, "Yep, safety first," because we could hit a lot of debris from seasonal runoff.
Yeah, this is completely unrelated, but somewhat related. My grandparents, they lived in Lake Orion, Michigan for a good portion of their lives. And they told me that, of course, during the winter, the lake would freeze over. And then after a couple months, they could just drive over it. I always thought that was kind of a cool story.
Technically, yeah, if you have a good enough
my grandfather, he told me he would just start spinning around in his car or something like that. Way back when he was younger. But this would have been 50s and 60s.
I haven't read that little biography. I have forgot that I thought about writing in rural Alaska.
Hitting up the gym.
I tried to be hip. Doesn't really work.
Might not be hip, but you sure are swole, right? Isn't that what the kids say?
That's what the kids say nowadays.
But here's some interesting stuff. That's how you spell Adirondack Park. Look at that. Gosh, that'll be the most enlightening part of this entire episode is the proper spelling of the Adirondack Park.
Did you not know how to spell it?
I mean, I could have made a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you just sound it out. But yeah, all right. So tell us about your website. So we start off from this page of, is that you in the background?
No, people have asked me that. No, that's like one of the
pictures.
when you create this, they give you different templates to try to and filter out what you're trying to promote, blah blah blah. And I picked this one obviously, and then I deleted a couple sections from it, and then I kept this one because nothing like a little Play-Doh quote for
random public service announcement. If you're listening on Spotify, we're looking at stuff now. So sorry.
Switch over to the YouTube.
Yeah, of course. Wise words from Plato here.
Writing is the geometry of the soul. I wish they had I wish I could put in the Gary Paulson. Jerry.
Geriatrics.
And then you go down, and then I forgot that if you scroll down a little bit farther, you have the three newest.
The
three newest stories, and then I forgot how many they show how many people have looked at. That's sad. Well, 14 in a week.
Higher than mine. And here you can
you can give us feedback. That would be wonderful. What are you doing?
There we go.
But so that's the front, and then if you want to read something that's not or a little farther back, you can go to the blog part.
The blogging.
And then it gives you all of it, and then you can like it, and you can comment it.
And this is, there we go.
Thank you.
Heck yeah. Epilogue. So this is the newest addition to the Time series.
That is the newest addition to the Time series, and that is as of right now, I know I have been saying this for the last.
Your email account's it's about to get bombarded with likes. Look at that. This is gonna put you on the map here.
Oh, did I do it? That's the scroll back up. That's the one that I was trying to hint that I was doing on serial killer thinking a jibber. They got 32 views. Oh. Huh. And the one cool thing about this website is if you are a bind on time, it tells you how long it should take you to read this story. So like this one is 9 minutes.
Wow, that's kind of cool. Actually, I
Rue
might
is 4 minutes.
Rue that
Oh, so
classic
Rue
right
is
there.
so Porch was Porch was the third one.
Got the heart there. Look.
Oh, I got 11 likes. Hold on, scroll back up. I got 10 likes on that. Huh?
Well,
11 now.
Same with Remembrance.
Well, that was the first one. That was when that's the honeymoon phase of all this. When people are like, yeah, we'll scroll down to the views to Remembrance. How many? 157. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and
this was your debut, right?
Yeah, and then we drastically drop off.
Wow.
And Izzy's ice cream. That was
what?
That Izzy's ice cream that came. That was organic. That just was kind of. I don't know what made me think of it. Well, again, I took part of personal experiences of getting ice cream with both sets of grandparents, actually. And then I used one of the ice cream parlor as or like the ice cream place that we didn't really frequently go, but I picked that one as like the model. And then actually the hospital room is kind of morbid, mimics what my grandmother's hospital bed looked like before she died. Like that. So I picked that one out too. So I used that. Sorry to get all morbid, but that's so but when we talk about personal experience, that's what we kind of mean. We actually take scenes that we have been inside or have driven past, and then we create our own story to it.
I mean, to kind of add to that, there's a bit in my Fairly Human book where the main character is in a hospital, and my entire description of that hospital was, going to see my great grandmother when she had her stroke years ago. And how everything was so like, everything smelled so. I don't know how to describe it other than chemically. Chemical. It smelled like cleaners. It was all sterile. It was bleak, white walls, very not like I don't know, it was a morbid place. And so I use that when describing the hospital in my Fairly Human story. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's that there's really not a lot to it, but it's and then it's the last quarter of it is the Irrational or the Time series, excuse me. And then you can contact me in the top left corner. I forgot I had my phone number on there.
Great. I'm going to keep it hidden.
No one's gonna text me. And then you could go, but then you have connected is my Instagram, my LinkedIn, my Facebook, and my Twitter. I've been off Instagram and Facebook for a while. Well, I haven't deleted it. I just haven't been on it, but I'm going to slowly work my way back to being on more active on it.
Fair enough.
I think. But that's pretty much it. I once I was introduced to Wix, I found it rather easy because at first I was going to do WordPress. I had that downloaded and it was not very easy for a greenhorn online blog person, in the middle of quarantine, kind of like not really knowing what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
Trying to figure stuff out for himself. That was not easy. And so when I was introduced to Wix, I was like, oh, this is so pick a template, boom.
Yeah. I will say the blog that's attached to my website is through the website domain company or whatever, and they don't allow comments anymore, which they previously did. I don't like the way that the text is, when I copy and paste the text over, it loses a lot of its original formatting, which is why if you read articles on my website, sometimes it's kind of formatted poorly, and so I'm looking into getting another blog that I can run through the website, which I think I can do.
Well, if you scroll down, I don't think you really see a lot of comments on here.
Oh yeah,
Well, someone said, hold on. Taj said he left a comment on one of them.
which three here? Could be one of these.
No, it was not. Oh, so that's what it looks like. Huh.
Let's see who else. Let's see, three comments. Oh, here's one. Yeah, like for example, like the stories on my website do not look this good. They don't come out this professional. I don't think that's Taj.
No, I think it's in part of the Iraq.
Oh,
Oh, what's it? Well, I don't know what the was that you?
I don't think so. But I mean, honestly, maybe. Who knows? No.
Oh no, that was fake.
I get stuff like that on YouTube a lot. Yeah, I
Oh
don't.
wait, where are we? Was what I was told. No, okay, no nothing. Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Let's just double check.
nothing.
Should I leave a comment?
This is what people should be doing for all our stuff, not just. Got to sign in.
Dang. Well, I'll come back later.
Okay.
But I guess in the meantime, let's go to my far more inferior website. Ta-da! So this actually first.
Well, first of all, I would like to say that I like what were you going to say about mine before we?
Well, I was gonna say let's. I wanted to go to the shout out the website domain.
Oh yeah, okay.
So start right there. I don't have to guess. I guess I don't have to say it out if you're watching. I guess if you're listening, if you're still on Spotify and you are persistent in staying on Spotify for the moment, andrewskamara.wixsite.com/stories. Although you probably don't need the stories part.
Or again, if you don't remember that, Google my name, Andy Camara, and it's for me, it's the first one because that's like so when I publish or when I post about it on my Instagram story, I go on my phone and to get the like a picture of the I guess the cover display cover and put that on my like my Instagram story. So it pops up for me to be the first one. But for Todd here, a little while ago, before when we were setting up, it was the fourth one. So
yeah, I think
you just got to look for it a little bit. It's on the first. It's on the first page. We have made it to the first page.
Hey, I mean, it's better than me. I'm somebody named Todd Byron has a auto shop somewhere in the country, and that's it's beating me out quite a bit. Although I got to the social media before he did, so that's cool. But yeah, so my website is just my name.com. And it's I don't know, it's different than yours. Like this is the blog, my blog. It's very boring now that I think about it. It's kind of bland, like that hospital I was talking about earlier. But on here I have like different categories of stuff. Like I'll have updates where I will, like this one I talk about my major projects for the year. It's stuff that I actually went over earlier. The dystopian climate novel, the Fairly Human. And this is actually the title of my short story collection. More than
I like
stories.
this. This is something I like.
Well, this is good for updates, but let me show you what an actual story looks like. All right, so this is Crime and Punishment. This is a short story I wrote in 2011. It's the story that's going to be in that short story collection. And this is, so, for this, obviously I type it out in a Word document and then I copy paste it. And this is what it looks like.
Well, that's exactly what I do with mine.
Except, well, the thing is with yours, I don't know, does it look like this? I mean,
I go, so what I do is I copy paste, but then I go through it again. Well, I reread it 3 times, make sure I didn't miss any misspelled words, blah, 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 yada, yada. And then I go in and like, so if nothing is indented,
yeah,
I go and indent it because I have to make sure. And then I have to go on my phone because that's where a lot of people are reading it from their phones to make sure it looks as presentable. Because at one point it didn't look, it wasn't working and the indentations weren't working right. So I have to go in from my phone sometime and fix it.
So the thing about this one is the tab, but I can't, if I want to do indent, I have to click space, like the space button 8 times for each sentence.
That's Stupid.
So I'm like, fuck it. I don't, screw it. Oops, pardon my French.
Watch your profanity.
Yeah,
That's what happens in
We're
the
gonna get
writer's block
demonetized.
after doc or after
Yeah.
dark. Sorry, I had a Boston accent there.
Yeah. Going to the how about you? Got some clam chowder.
After doc.
But yeah, so this is what the stories tend to look like, and I have them. Actually, I screwed this up. It should say short story here, but I clicked the wrong button because as you can see, this one's an actual update. This one is a short story. But yeah, I got a lot of short stories. Actually, so I didn't really start putting short stories on here until 2021, and you can actually break it down. Like short story, it'll have all the short stories going pretty far back, all the sad, boring shit, and then these are actually a couple of stories that are related to the Dystopia series. The same kind of thing that you did, where you did short stories with your characters to kind of flesh out the characters and the world. I basically did that with these couple, and then second person view story, which I think I have another one in here somewhere. Maybe not. I thought I had one in here.
I was thinking, sorry, before you continue to promote your great website, I was thinking if we never talked about second point of view, the whole time series would have never been created. Well, I can think of other reasons why that time series had never been created, but the main reason is the point of view was something that I think if you haven't listened to that episode, I don't remember what episode that was. That was many moons ago. So that's a good, if you're dabbling in the idea of writing, like picking a perspective, I would go back and listen to that episode. It was a very informative one, if I do say so myself. All right, continue on with your wonderful website. See, you even have I run the Twitter account. Couldn't tell you the last time I shared a tweet that a new story was live, or a new web episode was live.
If I'm being honest, the traffic on my website is abysmal. Okay, nobody comes to this website. So most of these updates, I think if anything, it's just me trying. It's just me I don't know, updating myself. This is actually kind of funny though. This is a new book incoming. This is the book I was talking about earlier, The Sound of Silence. It takes place in the late 80s, a small town called Buttonwood, Pennsylvania. Young girls trying to understand the world around her from the confines allowed to her. The town is very religious, struggles to fully understand, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I've got, I don't know how far back the updates go, but yeah, nobody reads these though. So, or at least, no more than 3 people read these at most. But at the very least, I like it because it's kind of like it's like a backlog of my progress. It's kind of cool to go back and see when I first started talking about one book or another book, or right here, The Return of Archer's Conundrum. That was a short story collection that I wrote back in 2018, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this again. And then I didn't, or a whole other bunch of stuff. But anyways, the blog is at the top of the website, and that nowadays is kind of, it's the main purpose of this website. It used to just be simply showcasing the books themselves, which I think is still in here. The farther down you go, all the way beneath it, you can find out about some of the books I have: Archer's Conundrum, True Blue Taunt, Fairly Human, blah, blah, blah. And if you click find out more, it actually takes you to the Amazon page, which is kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. And that's my book.
Make sure you buy your 8 greens.
Yes. This moment in time is sponsored by 8 Greens, the world's first green gummy. What does it do? Absolutely nothing, but you'll be glad you had it. I can also join my mailing list.
Wait, you have a LinkedIn?
I do now. I recently made it in the past week, actually. I was a little late to it, but better late than never.
We had to make ours in college. I remember it was like one of the prerequisites for a class. You had to start one. You didn't have to continue using it, because I know people there that just had to do it. But it's interesting. A lot of people promote their, which is fine. It's self promotion and other finding people, but it's also like I'm honored to accept this new role at blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, you're a, you know, whatever. Just you don't have to go on like a paragraph and saying all like that's it. I don't know. I catch myself scrolling on it sometimes.
I only made the account because I expect to possibly look for more professional work in the future at some point. So
Yeah,
I figured it would be a good idea to start that up.
very good idea.
But yeah, this is basically the bulk of my website, though. It's mostly just a place to get updates and also short stories. So I've got this one I just dropped. I dropped 2 shorts on the third. I actually have an excerpt from The Sound of Silence that should drop Monday morning. It'll be the first 3 chapters, so you can get a sort of eye in the world that that the story revolves around, what kind of person the main character is, and an overall gist of where the story is going. I mean, it just kind of like, one thing I've noticed, which is kind of different from some of the other stories I've had, is that it just kind of builds up and builds up over time, and I've always thought it was a cool story. It's not at all what I originally intended it to be, but I think I first started brainstorming this story back in like 2017, 2018. I was really like, for whatever reason that year, I was like crazy into the Halloween spirit or something like that. And I wanted to have my own horror thriller story, and eventually it evolved into Eve, which eventually evolved into The Sound of Silence. And yeah, that's all I got. Of course, store if you want to buy t-shirts and
Yeah, I don't have that.
Hashtag swag.
See, I don't have any hashtag swag.
So there's a sort of guy, right? I'll be honest with you, sometimes I'm not even sure if this shit's even working. Let's check that. I get a mask before they're all gone. Used to be a shirt on here that was it's from there we go. My dad bought this shirt, Archer's Conundrum. Ooh. And like the back of it says, "What is real?" Ooh, spooky. It's only $17. What a good deal.
Oh, you get 4X too. Damn.
Yeah. See, we don't discriminate against the larger members of society.
We don't.
But let's see. And then of course, writer's block. I don't know if you guys have heard about the writer's block, but click here, you can check out the YouTube channel. You can see, actually last couple of videos did pretty good. Thank you to whoever has been watching those.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nikes.
Yeah. I mean, we had a couple of slow weeks, then all of a sudden, outlines, and that one was a real banger. Even the one that premiered yesterday. 16 views in just over 24 hours. That's actually a impressive turnaround. So
thank you to our fans.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Ooh, that's
my face.
That is that. I forgot that YouTube, my original YouTube. That's from high school. Oh God, we're not showing it. No. That's, I got 100 on that project, by the way, but that was also 10th grade. We are not watching that.
We'll do that on the next episode. We are reaching our time. All right, let's see what else. I guess So yeah, that's cool stuff.
That is that we're not faking that reaction there, folks. That was shocking. I did not expect that.
Yeah, we're not used to success in any form, so at least I'm not. But it's, of course, I mean, think of it like that. Like, we're excited to have 30 views. Like, woo! Let's see, what our lifetime views are still 380. So that's kind of, something. But let's see, what else do we got? Is there? Oh yeah, merch.
Oh, our merch. Yeah,
should probably show that since we always talk about it, right? The writer's block.
Look at that.
And of course, you got all this stuff here. No hats. We don't do that around here. But everything else you can imagine, even a stainless tumbler. Because who
I
wouldn't
should
pay
get-
$30 for tumbler with the writer's block written on it? How much would I bet after like 2 washes in the machine?
The thing
Fall
would
right
definitely
off.
peel off 100%.
Yeah. Once again, great with marketing, great with self promos. Yeah. Comes in one color. Stainless steel. Stainless steel. Toyota Tundra. Oh. Well, so yeah, that's basically it. Of course, I got all these links. These will go to Amazon pages as well. Or you could click on this. It also takes you to an Amazon page. I really wish that comments were still allowed in this, because one of these, I posed a question once.
Well, see, you expect these people to, our lovely audience, to actually leave comments when you ask them to.
Well,
I don't even say leave what you like. I usually say leave any criticism or comments or critiques, and I still don't get any.
Well, the issue I have now is, as I mentioned before, they close the comments on all blog posts. So, like, it's funny because, like, this was just a couple months ago when I wrote this, but the idea here was, it's like, obviously, like, I write whatever I want to write, but I thought, hey, maybe I can get some input from potential audience members as to what they would like to hear or read, and of course, I mean, I don't think anyone ever saw the post, and now the comments are closed, so I might as well delete this thing. But of course, you can always leave me a message on the YouTube account or on my Twitter, all of which is on. Well, I used to have YouTube attached here. I guess not, but maybe I'll add it back. I think I was hesitant to attach my YouTube account to this because, like, my YouTube accounts has nothing to do with writing. So, but at the same time, it is a different kind of storytelling, I guess, politics and such. But I guess, yeah, that's pretty much it, right? Anything else you want to go over on your channel? Watch any of those videos?
No. We can no.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go back to the dual screen mode. Yeah, that was enlightening.
But that was good. Now people know how to get to our websites, what they look like, how easy it is to leave a comment. Well, for mine anyway.
Yeah, it's impossible to leave a comment on mine directly.
Well, if you have comments on Todd's writing, go to our YouTube channel, leave a comment.
Yeah, my YouTube channel, the Writer's Block YouTube channel, my Twitter, my DMs are open. Why does that feel weird to say? Yeah, however you can get a message to me. Send me a letter. Telegram, get one of those birds, put a little note scrawled into it.
For some reason, I have my phone number on my website. And not let it matter. It's been almost 2 years and I have not received a text message. So that's good.
Yeah, well, there's a possibility you might read, or you might get some messages after this episode. So yeah, as one might say, ooga booga.
But it's an oof. Yeah. So
okay. Yeah, so I guess that's that. Anything else you want to shout out?
Check out the epilogue to the time series. Pretty sure that's going to be it. I've said that twice now. But we keep generating ideas, and it's still. I still receive. Well, I haven't received feedback on this epilogue one, other than to the couple people that have read it before I published it. So there's like 3. But so I've gotten some positive feedback on that. Still looking for more. Obviously, check out my prologue. And that is the prologue is for my novel. That is the most set in stone thing I have in my novel to this day. So check that out. Critique that on that one. And I guess be on the lookout for new projects and short stories, because I think we're gonna make this hopefully the next 3 weeks of February a decent writing publishing one. I think work our way around school and have have some more writing, not just lay on my bed and fall asleep for an hour and then do schoolwork. Got to be more productive with my time.
Yeah, well, sometimes work does that.
Yeah.
So
sometimes, yeah, rarely. It's a rare occasion.
Fair enough. Yeah, perhaps. I suppose.
But
yeah, yeah, same here. Check out my website. I should have. I mean, I've got plenty of short stories. Check them out if you have time. If you're, you know how it goes. If you're on the can, you've got nothing to do. ToddByron.com. No better time to check out my stories. And it's the best self promo you're going to get out of me, probably. But yeah, by the time this episode airs, I'll have first 3 chapters of The Sound of Silence on my website. It'll be a sort of horror thriller, short story, religious undertones, psychological stuff, trauma, crap, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, outside of that, I do have on my YouTube channel. I mean, I don't know when I'm going to do it. I'm planning on doing a series of episodes on the culture war, because who doesn't want to hear about highly political stuff, so that should be exciting. Gonna look at the origins of that, gonna look at how it's playing out in society today and where it could lead us to the future. Of course, the timeline for when that's coming out, that's a tough one right there, because I've got a lot of writing that I'm doing right now, a lot of projects, so that one's kind of taking the back seat. But eventually, by the summer, probably. Yeah, that's all I got.
I think since your creative juices are still flowing, I think we should call it quits on this episode. There's another good one.
True. It's time to axe this episode,
Oh, God.
Sorry.
I got nothing. I have nothing to respond to that.
Well, actually, can I ask you a question? Never mind. Have a great evening, night, morning, whatever the time zone is when you're watching and or listening to this. Thank you for your time. Give us a like, subscription, a follow, a comment. All is welcome. And maybe one day, me and Andy will autograph this axe and give it to our biggest fan. Because to be honest with you, I don't know what else I'm going to do with it. So yeah, maybe we'll do that. Or maybe we'll just chop down a tree. I don't know. Thank you for your time. Have a great evening, and we will see you next time.